The following is a presentation of the Championship Racing Network.
Drivers, start your engines. Pull those belts down tight one more time. Warm up those tires. Hit your marks and let's go racing, boys and girls. NASCAR, Indycar, Formula 1, FormulaE, and NHRA Racing Talk. This is the Championship Racing Network. Now here's your hosts, Steve West and Matt Nicholson, with producer John Myers.
Hey, welcome into it. He's back. Yeah, I am. By the way, thank you to you.
Yep.
And thank you to Grady.
That was probably, well, not probably, I will argue with anyone, the fastest 2-hour show we've ever done.
I could actually believe that.
It was one right after the other.
For those of you that are kind of wondering, what in the heck are we talking about? Last week was Talladega week, and I had other duties that I had to perform. In other words, I had to be up in the PA booth at Talladega. So we had what we called a hybrid show.
Yep, it was hybrid.
Whereas one of the hosts of our flagship station, Grady Sapp, filled in for me and you and Grady and I guess Johnny Ponder too.
Yeah, Johnny was on for the first segment, and then it was 5 straight guests to close the show out in 20-minute segments, which made it fly by.
Yeah.
Nick Sanchez, Parker Chase, Tony Brodinger, Chandler Smith, and then who was last? Who was last? I don't forgot who was last.
It's been a week.
Yeah, but it went really, 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 really well, and
yeah.
We almost went 2 for 2. Interviewing race winners.
Came very close, no doubt about it.
Very close. In fact, if you'd like to check out those interviews,
Yeah, do that.
go to YouTube, check out CRN Live. You can watch last week's show.
Corey Heim. The other one, yep.
I was telling producer John on the way in as we drove in together, I found out that I've got one of those,
Yeah.
not overly expensive, don't get me wrong, but found one of those smart televisions on sale.
Uh-huh.
And I realized that I could go onto YouTube on that. So I just, middle of the week this week, while I was doing stuff, I just happened to put it on. And I'm sitting there watching on the big screen. I'm watching the CRN Live YouTube feed on my television. I'm like, okay, this is cool. So, yeah, if you get the chance, check it out. A lot of great interviews there. Once again, appreciate Grady and everybody out at Talladega for being so welcoming. We appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Last week, unless you were hiding in a cave, you likely heard something about NASCAR being at our playground at Talladega. Racing began Saturday with the Xfinity Series. Very popular move by Richard Childress. They put an Earnhardt, Jeffrey in this case, into a very black number 3. And he claimed the pole. Led a few laps at the beginning, but kind of drifted back towards the race. Never too far back, though. When it was time to grab the paycheck, he was back up front running and battling, as it turns out, a car from his uncle, Dale Earnhardt Jr., in the form of Junior Motorsports number 9, driven by one Noah Gragson. It took 3 overtimes to get this thing figured out. I was beginning to wonder if it was going to take more.
I will say this in complete confidence, if Jeffrey Earnhardt starts his run a turn quicker, he wins the race.
He wins the race, I agree. Earnhardt just couldn't gather enough speed through the tri-oval on that final lap. Gragson ends up at the win. He wins Earnhardt's second, A.J. Allmendinger third, Ryan Sieg, Landon Castle, Anthony Alfredo, Riley Earpst, Joe Graff Jr., Myatt Snyder, and Brett Moffitt make up your top 10. For the record, Ty Gibbs was wrecked out early. He still leads in the standings, 3 wins. Gragson now has 2. And then there are all the single-time winners in the Xfinity Series, A.J. Allmendinger, Brandon Jones, and Austin Hill. The others who are without wins but inside the top 12 are led by Josh Berry, then Justin Allgaier, Ryan Sieg, Sam Mayer, Riley Earpst, Landon Castle, Daniel Hemrick. Some names still on the outside that are a little bit surprising. Sheldon Creed, Brandon Brown, Jeremy Clements alone. And the thing about it is, as we're getting further and further into the year, I'm not certain that there's a whole lot of room for them.
I'm not overly shocked at 2 of the 3 right now. One of them I am.
Okay.
Creed.
Yeah. Clements, I'm a little surprised because of what we saw last year. We saw a massive step forward in that team last year.
Yeah.
And I have to admit, I was expecting to see even a little bit more improvement this year, but they seem to have stalled out somewhere. So it'll be interesting to see if they can figure out what has caused them to kind of stall and start back on that road that they were on last year, where they were not by leaps and bounds by any stretch of the imagination, but just you could tell the advancement throughout the course of the year.
Yeah, when Creed had his incident, he got caught up, and then it was him and somebody else. I can't remember who it was. It was a 3-car incident that happened in turn 4 that, it got called out over a speaker. It looked like he apparently turned into the wall, when his right front's hanging off the car.
Sure.
You hit the wall, for sure.
Oh, yeah, you did.
So, yeah. No shade thrown there.
And then to Sunday, busy day got underway in Italy to begin with. Formula One, Charles Leclerc got his Ferrari on the pole on a day where the rain stopped really only about 20 minutes or so before the race got underway.
On the whole weekend.
Yeah, and it held off long enough for Formula One to have the 2 hours to get in the race. But it wasn't Leclerc leading at the end. Early in the race, the drivers came in to switch from wet tires, intermediates is what they called them, into racing slicks, generally the medium compound racing slicks. But Ferrari, which saw both Red Bulls get around Leclerc early as they were the first to make those tire changes, decided to gamble a bit. They put Leclerc on soft tires with less than 10 laps to go. As Leclerc began pursuit, he got within a second of second-place Sergio Perez and spun himself out going through a turn. Had to pit for new tires and a new nose. He ended up finishing 9th. While Leclerc attempted to come back through the field out front, defending F1 champion Max Verstappen was running away with things, claims the win by more than 16 seconds over his Red Bull teammate Sergio Perez. Lando Norris, benefiting from Leclerc's spin, claims his second podium finish in a row. He's 3rd. George Russell, in a Mercedes, 4th.
Mm-hmm.
Notice whose name I haven't said. The other Mercedes driver.
Uh-huh.
It's weird that I can actually say that now. Valtteri Bottas 5th, Leclerc 6th. Nice kind of rebound, but still 6th. Yuki Tsunoda 7th, Sebastian Vettel 8th, Kevin Magnussen 9th, Lance Stroll finishes out the top 10. What was the name that I didn't mention?
That Hamilton guy.
That's right. 14th. Bad day at the office for Sir Lewis Hamilton. Championship tightens up a bit. Leclerc leads Verstappen 86-59 now. 54 points for Sergio Perez, 49 for George Russell. Carlos Sainz in the 38. Yeah, I still haven't mentioned Hamilton. 35 for Lando Norris. Oh, there's Lewis Hamilton. 28 points. Your leader's got 86. We'll get back to this later in F1 news. 24 for Valtteri Bottas, Esteban Ocon, 20 points. Kevin Magnussen holding on to 10th place. He's got 15 points. In the Constructors' Cup standings, Ferrari leading the way, 125 points. Red Bull with their first and second place finish up to 113, tightening that race up quite well. Mercedes is now 3rd with 77 points. 46 for McLaren, 25 for Alfa Romeo. Alpine with 22. AlphaTauri 16, 15 for Haas F1. Aston Martin 5. And Williams now has a point. So unlike last year, all 10 teams have scored at least one championship point on the year. And we're only, 4 races into the year?
Yeah, and if anybody had on their bingo card that George Russell would account for over 50% of the Mercedes points this early in the season,
I wouldn't have guessed that.
Please call me. I want to play the lottery with you.
Yeah, you guys need to go play. What's it up to now?
470 million, I think.
All right, cool.
Something like that.
I get 1%. Back in our backyard, no overtimes were needed, surprisingly enough, but drama was still there for the Cup Series. On the final lap, the number 43 of Eric Jones was leading, but often, as it did last weekend, that changes before the final lap results in the winner. Coming off of turn 4, second place Kyle Larson began to make his move. He went high. It prompted Jones to try to block. Well, down low, Ross Chastain just watched as the seas kind of parted, and he rolls on to the win as everybody else crashes behind him through the oval, it seemed like. Chastain said in the interview after the race, quote, "I'm always the one going to the top too early and making the mistake." And there at the end, with 8 to go, I'm like, I'm not going up there again. I did that a couple of times today, so I'll just drive the bottom. I'm not going to lose the race for us. And they just kept going up and moving out of the way. Yeah, they did. I mean, you want to talk about everything just laid out for them. That was perfect scenario.
That was the literal seas parted.
Exactly. I mean, just watch it happen. It's like, wow. Couldn't ask for anything more.
And I heard Justin Marks say in the media center, he told to, I think it was Nate Ryan, he said, man, the seas just parted.
Oh, yeah.
I'm thinking, well, you think?
Yeah. Austin Dillon ended up second, Kyle Busch third, then Kyle Larson, Martin Truex Jr., Eric Jones, who said after the race he never should have left the bottom of the track, just let it play out. Chase Elliott, Michael McDowell, Alex Bowman, Kevin Harvick making up the top 10. With the win, 2 drivers now have multiple wins on the season, Chastain and your number 1 seed at this time, which is William Byron. You got the drivers that have 1 win that are in the playoffs right now. Kyle Busch, Alex Bowman, Kyle Larson, Chase Briscoe, Austin Cindric, and Denny Hamlin. The rest of your top 16 that are in on points begins with Chase Elliott, then goes to Ryan Blaney, Joey Logano, Martin Truex Jr., Eric Almirola, Kevin Harvick, Austin Dillon, and Christopher Bell. Names like Tyler Reddick, Kurt Busch, and Daniel Suarez, just a couple of the names on the outside looking in. And then the final race of last weekend, as the NHRA got in the final race at the soon-to-be-demolished Houston Raceway Park. Still weird to say that. Top fuel, the finals, down to a battle between Justin Ashley and Brittany Force. No Steve Torrence. Wow. Force got off the line quicker, claims a whole shot win. Ashley was actually faster line to line, but it was Force's reaction time that made the difference to get her the win. She ran a 3.767 ET, 321.42 miles per hour. It's her second win this year, 13th of her career. Matt Hagan, driving for the fledgling Tony Stewart Racing, facing off against Bobby Bodie for only the second time ever, first time ever that they've met up in finals. Hagan came in leading 1-0. You can make it 2-0. Hagan had the better reaction time, pulled out a 3.982 ET, 326.63 miles per hour. Second win of the season, second win for Tony Stewart Racing.
Yep.
41st win for Matt Hagan in his what's becoming a very storied funny car career.
Yep.
Erica Enders took on a surprise in the finals, a pro stock car, Candy Caruso. It's the first time the two have ever faced off, and it's pretty much one of the first races ever for Candy Caruso. She did actually have the quicker reaction time to her credit, but Enders powered by the 200-foot mark. She rolls onto the win, first for her this season. 36th win of her career, her 4th win all time in Houston. And then Matt Smith took on Alabama's own Steve Johnson in the Pro Stock Motorcycle Finals. Smith had the advantage off the light, but Johnson led just after the Christmas tree, ends up claiming the win with a 6.720 elapsed time, 199.91 miles per hour to get the win, his first of 2022 and 10th overall. With the win, Brittany Force takes over the top field points lead. She's up 32 points over Steve Torrence, 53 over Justin Ashley, 71 up on Mike Salinas, and 139 ahead of Clay Milliken. I can't remember the last time we've been talking about how uneven a beginning of the year has been for Steve Torrence. Oh, I take that back. I do know how long ago that was. 5 years ago.
Yeah, it's been a while.
Matt Hagan leading your funny car points, 60 up on Robert Height, 87 on Ron Capps. Get this, Cruz Pedregon, 4th place in points in funny car, 225 back. John Force in 5th, 258 back. You think 60 points between first and second is a big lead. Oh, wait. Erica Enders says, I've got you one better. She holds the lead in Pro Stock Car. Second place, Aaron Stanfield's 85 back. 129 up on Kyle Koretsky in 3rd. Dallas Glenn's 169 down, and Greg Anderson 183 behind. Pro Stock Motorcycles closer. Karen Stouffer leads, up 23 on Steve Johnson. Angie Smith 68 out, 69 back. Eddie Krawick, Matt Smith tied with Joey Gladstone. They're 72 back. Mm-hmm. Hey, this weekend's slate of racing just began.
Yeah.
At least the coverage of it. I don't know about the race itself. Formula E running the Monaco E-Prix. You can find it on the CBS Sports Network if you know where to find it. The race itself, I do believe, will begin shortly. Coverage, like I said, is underway now. We'll keep an eye on it and let you know throughout the course of the race. Xfinity Series set to run the A-Game 200 at Dover Motor Speedway. No, it's not college football time in Alabama. That's already happened. I don't know what the A-Game up in Dover, Delaware is, truth be told.
It's a sponsor.
Yeah, but still, I don't know what it is, actually, truth be told. I've never looked up the sponsor.
I'm wanting to say it's some kind of an energy shot.
Oh, okay.
I think.
While he looks that up, I'll give you the information of where you can either see it or hear it. Fox Sports 1, MRN Radio. Coverage begins 1:30 p.m. Eastern Time, 12:30 p.m. Central Time. Brandon Jones, by the way, has the pole for the race. NTT Data IndyCar Series will get things rolling tomorrow first. They're going to run the Honda Indy Grand Prix of Alabama right here in our other backyard playground, Barber Motorsports Park. By the way, congratulations to everybody here in Alabama and all the fans of the IndyCar Series. both today and tomorrow's activities at the track sold out. If you were planning on walking up and getting your tickets, sorry, you missed.
Yeah. A-Game is a sports hydration drink.
Okay, there we go. It's another energy drink. Wow, what a shock. Let's see. What time tomorrow? How about 1 p.m. Eastern, noon Central Time? It'll air on NBC and the IndyCar radio network. During practice yesterday, Colton Herta had the fastest speed. 3 of the 4 fastest speeds held by Andretti Autosport. Those 2 other drivers being Alexander Rossi, who was 3rd fastest, Romain Grosjean 4th quickest. Alex Palou, 2nd quickest, was the interloper in there. And then shortly after that, the final race of the weekend gets rolling. Cup Series, running at Dover, Duramax Dryden 400, presented by Relodyne. How many sponsors can you get in one title? Airing on Fox Sports 1 and MRN Radio.
Yes, kids, the MRN Radio is covering your race at an SMI track.
I know. Strange. I haven't totally made that change.
Monaco E-Prix will go green in 1 hour and 33 minutes.
So right about the time we get ready to go off the air.
Yep.
Sorry, we won't have the results for you. We'll have those next week.
Oops.
Don't worry about it. Let's go ahead and take an early break. When we come back, big week for Trackhouse Racing. We talked about Ross Chastain a minute ago. We'll give you a little more background on that situation. Plus, they've got themselves a new sponsor. Thank you for checking us out, whether you're checking us out on the flagship station or their app, which you can find on Google Play or Apple stores. Please go ahead and do that. Or we invite you, if you're not already on there, go on to YouTube, check out CRN Live. If you haven't subscribed, go ahead and hit subscribe. It doesn't cost you anything. And anytime we go live on that CRN Live YouTube page, you get a notification so that you can check it out. Thank you very much for doing so, and tell your friends about it, would you? When we come back, like we said, we'll talk a little bit of Cup Series racing news, because there's actually quite a bit of it, and that's just the beginning. Good grief, we got a lot of news to get to. Literally every major series that we cover, we have some news for. We'll dig into it next, right here on CRN.
Don't touch that dial. The Championship Racing Network will be right back. You're only go, go, go. We're back to the Championship Racing Network.
Hey, welcome back in. I'm Steve West with Matt Nicholson, producer John Myers. Saturday morning, literally the last day in the month of April. Good grief, is this year flying by.
Yeah, it is.
Of course, anything would have been faster than the last couple of years felt. Good grief. That being said, hey, let's get into the news, shall we? Big week for Trackhouse Racing in the Cup Series. First of all, they claimed their second win ever as a team, so congratulations to that. You want to talk about a team that last year came in as a one-car operation with Daniel Suarez, and we were all kind of impressed. I mean, Justin Marks, former racer, brings in a guy who nobody would have thought would have gotten into racing, musical artist Pitbull. And then midway through the year, probably through a shock every bit as big as when Stewart-Haas Racing said, hey, by the way, we're going to Ford. They bought Chip Ganassi Racing. We didn't even know they were for sale.
No.
And now this year they've already got, with one of the drivers that they kept, because they could have kept either Kurt Busch or Ross Chastain. We were kind of thinking they could have kept both of them, truth be told.
Yeah, honestly.
But Justin Marks apparently decided, well, we're not going to take and bite off more than we can chew. We think we can do 2 cars. We think we can do 2 cars well. 3 cars we're not so certain about.
And I said last year on this show, don't look past Justin Marks because he's very, very dangerous.
Exactly. So he keeps Ross Chastain and turns around, and he's already got 2 wins with Ross Chastain this year. Congratulations to him.
With the same car at a road course and a super speedway.
Yeah, we'll get that. We'll detail that here in a second. They've also announced a new sponsor for the team, which you can see on our YouTube feed, courtesy of NASCAR.com. New sponsor mostly for the number 1, but it'll get a little bit of time on Suarez's car as well. It's called Worldwide Express. You may have heard of them. They're based out of Dallas, Texas. They're a freight and logistics company. They're going to be a primary sponsor for Chastain. 17 races over the next 2 years. Going to be a primary sponsor for Daniel Suarez for an additional 4 races over that same time frame. Again, you can see it on our CRN live YouTube feed, courtesy of NASCAR.com. You mentioned it. Another interesting note about Chastain's win. The car that he drove to the win at Talladega, it's actually the same car, rewrapped, obviously, with the Moose Lodge sponsorship. It's the same one that he drove to the win at Circuit of the Americas. 2 very different kinds of tracks. Circuit of the Americas, obviously, a 20-turn road course versus Talladega Superspeedway, the high-banked 2.66-mile tri-oval that it is. It shows, and you're the driver here,
Yeah.
but I'm going to say this and correct me if and where I'm wrong. For all of the slings and arrows that this Gen 7 car has taken, and we've thrown a number of them here on this show.
And I'll say this, I was able to get some extremely up-close looks with my eyes at the cars.
Yeah.
To get a visual on how things look, too.
Which we'll get to that here in a second. But for, like I said, like I was starting to say, for all the slings and arrows that everybody has fired at these Gen 7 cars, and again, we on this show have been known to throw a few ourselves.
Yeah.
That shows just how versatile these cars actually can be.
Extremely versatile.
I mean, we've been talking about, for decades now, really,
Yeah.
how all these teams are going out and they're building specific cars for Daytona and Talladega, then they're building specific cars to run in the short tracks of Richmond and Martinsville and Bristol, and then they're building specific cars for intermediate tracks like I guess we could kind of include Nashville or New Hampshire and Nashville and the 1.5 mile tracks.
Yeah.
And then they go around and they turn, even when we only had 2 road courses per year, they built specific cars to run at Sonoma and Watkins Glen.
Yeah, because when the suspension had to work, the lock suspension that are on these cars, excuse me, you have to build one that is versatile for the right and left-hand turns. But now with these Gen 7 cars, the versatility is built into it all the way regardless.
Yeah. I mean, it's amazing how that whole situation has kind of changed. So again, slings and arrows and criticisms, some of them legit, some of them a little bit overblown. Be the first person to admit to that. Got to admit, these cars have a lot of versatility built into them.
They do, and I mean, being as close as I was able to get to them and visually look at some of the things of it, these things are doggone tanks.
And you took a lot of pictures.
Yeah.
And John, have you been able to get those up on our website? Or not yet? John's very busy working on other things.
I don't think I'm not sure if they have or not. But,
Okay. If they haven't been yet,
Yeah.
soon enough, expect to see those pictures that Matt was taking as he was going around in the garage area up on our webpage. And if you haven't been to our webpage, we invite you to go check it out. It is crnradio.us.
Yeah.
Don't go to crnradio.com. Don't go to crnradio.net. That's not us. That's an entirely different company.
Nope.
crnradio.us. That's us. And you can check out all those pictures. You can go see where all we've been. And, hey, there's some blog action there, too. All that kind of stuff.
But the one thing, I mean, touching on that Worldwide Express deal, I was right there standing by when they unveiled the car.
Yeah.
They unveiled it by the Media Center Pavilion, and that black and blue is an extremely sharp car.
It is.
Extremely sharp car.
As far as the car is concerned, Ross Chastain credited his team and NASCAR for their vision on the car. Quote, it makes it so special that Jim France and the NASCAR family, the France family, their vision for this car, that in a month you can bring a car back, you can win at a road course and win at Talladega. Hasn't happened since the 1960s. I don't know, farther back. I have no idea. They would have had different cars. It's wild. There's more. That's more what it means to me, is that this car is capable of doing that.
Yeah.
And I agree.
Yeah, no doubt. No doubt.
So you go from the highs of one Trackhouse racing to, I'm going to be kind here, the unevenness of two-time Cup Series champion Kyle Busch.
I think that's a fair way to say it.
Kyle Busch is unsure of where he's going to be soon. Keep in mind, Kyle Busch, he's in the final year of his contract, but he's already got a win. He's locked into the playoffs this year. But we don't know where he's going to be after this year. Again, final year of his contract with Joe Gibbs Racing this year. He does know this. His major sponsor for his time at Joe Gibbs Racing, which is Mars M&Ms, they're gone after this year.
Right.
Where's he going to be? Well, Busch was asked about it last Saturday at Talladega after qualifying. Without emotion, he replied, quote, I'm not getting antsy about it. If it happens, it happens. If it don't, it don't. Goodbye.
Yep.
Wow. Past that comment, Busch kind of resorted to a 3-word answer to any follow-up questions from the media. Asked Joe Gibbs. So they did. And later on that day, Joe Gibbs seemed to be optimistic. He actually told Fox Sports reporter Bob Pockris, who I actually got to see in the media center on Sunday morning real quick, chance to chat with him for a couple of seconds. It was very cool to do that.
Yep.
He said, quote, we're going to get things done, so we're just working hard at it. Busch has been with Joe Gibbs Racing all the way back since 2008. How far back is that? That's still when Tony Stewart was driving for Joe Gibbs Racing. How's that for how far back that goes?
Yep.
He's claimed titles for the team in 2015 and again in 2019. And the week before Talladega, got his 60th Cup Series win of his career, again guaranteeing his 2022 playoff spot. He did tell media that he couldn't see himself anywhere other than Joe Gibbs Racing. I imagine if things fell apart, he'd probably find a way to find himself someplace else other than Joe Gibbs Racing.
Yeah.
But that being said, he did not use the word retire either. He instead kind of joked, quote, I would say I lost my ride, like Cole Trickle once said, referring to the line that Tom Cruise used in the movie Days of Thunder. And then he added, with a little bit of a smirk on his face, that other series weren't really on his radar, despite the fact that he owns his own Camping World Truck Series team. He said, no, I'll probably be Brexton Busch's truck driver, noting about his son and his son's own budding racing career. Yeah.
Well, see,
don't go getting that truck license yet.
See, what a lot of people don't realize, and this is the one big puzzle piece here. If he doesn't re-sign with Gibbs, guess who loses their flagship truck team? Toyota.
Yeah, that's true.
I don't think they want to do that.
No. Matter of fact, we've already heard. We haven't figured out exactly what it is that they're trying to do, but have already heard that Toyota has been very, very
adamant.
Adamant is a great word for it, about trying to keep him within the fold. So yeah,
if
I expect something will happen soon. Timeline, I don't know.
The little bit of chatter that I overheard in the media center throughout the weekend while doing the radio duties with Grady is if he doesn't get back to Gibbs, they possibly expect car number 3 at 2311 to keep him in the Toyota fold.
Yeah, I could actually see that.
Because because apparently Toyota's on this little bit of a kick to try to shove Ty Gibbs on up when really Ty Gibbs isn't ready to go up.
He is not ready. No.
So, but he's firmly planted at Toyota because, one, they don't want to lose that Truck Series flagship operation because if they do that, guess who becomes the flagship? ThorSport.
Uh-huh.
You don't want to go ThorSport as a flagship. You want to keep
Not really.
KBM as the flagship, my opinion.
Oh, yeah, I agree.
So that would keep him into the fold. That would keep that pipeline coming through there.
You mentioned it just a moment ago. 2311 Racing or 23 by 1? No, it's not 23 by 1. Saga of Denny Hamlin, who is, of course, Kyle Busch's Joe Gibbs Racing teammate, but he's also the co-owner of 2311 Racing, and it's that second aspect that came to light on Sunday just after Talladega, and it's also an aspect that got him into, well, a little bit of hot water.
Soapbox mode, DEFCON 1.
Uh-huh. He's geared up. We'll give you the full details, and then Matt can have the floor.
Yeah.
As we noted in the rundown, Kyle Larson was second on the final lap, trailing Eric Jones through the tri-oval, moved up the track in an attempt to pass Jones in hopes of claiming the win. As it was, he still got the best career super speedway finish of his, well, relatively short career. In the process, going up the track, Larson clipped Kurt Busch, driver of the number 45 for 2311, right? He began to spin. Ultimately, that spin took out not only himself, Kurt Busch, but it also took out Bubba Wallace. And, of course, Busch and Wallace drive both for 2311 Racing. Hamlin, in a fit of emotion as the owner that he is, posted a meme on social media. He found a clip from the animated show Family Guy specifically. Shows an Asian woman getting into a car accident. Hamlin superimposed Larson's name over it. The clip kind of makes stereotypical fun of Asian drivers for not using turn signals when they're changing lanes and doing things like that and then getting into a wreck. Hamlin added this, quote, "Let me say this, I tweet this, A, because it's funny as bleep, and B, because we," talking about Kyle Larson, "are friends." Problem is, NASCAR didn't find it funny, and they ordered Hamlin to begin sensitivity training before this week ended. In other words, he had to start it by at least yesterday. Hamlin actually did remove the post, but as we all know, anything that could be considered questionable in any way, shape, or form actually never dies because somebody made a copy of it and they can spread it out anytime they want to. And then Hamlin issued an apology that said this, quote, "I took down a post I made earlier today after reading some of the comments. It was a poor choice of memes, and I saw how it was offensive. It came across totally wrong. I apologize." As you noted, and I'm sure you're going to expound upon, Larson didn't seem awfully offended by it. Did he, Matt?
Let's see how long. Let's see. All right, I've got 9 minutes here. All right.
I'm going to take a break. I'm just going to let him have this. Okay, John?
First off, NASCAR is not to blame for this. Okay. Secondly, what's to blame for this is social media and Twitter.
Well, let's back up. Why isn't NASCAR not to blame?
Because NASCAR, I don't think, unless you have the social media aspect of Twitter, of the cancel culture and woke side of it, that's blowing it up and blowing it extremely out of proportion. All right, secondly, and two, let me find the proper choice of description here. To the I was going to say it, to the wing of it that tried to compare this to what Kyle Larson did using an extremely derogatory term. There's no excuse to say that whatsoever, period. Even though, no matter what period, I don't care if you're from the same ethnicity background of the people that use it. All right, I'm just going to leave it at that. To the people that try to compare this to that, get a life. Get a break. Give me a break. Give me a break. You are the people that caused all of this uproar to happen. Because when Kyle Larson says, heck, I thought it was funny. It didn't stereotype me because I made the mistake now 4 times of causing an accident while I'm trying to race. We're racing, people. So he took it, was having complete fun with it because, hey, it was last year, Kyle Larson running the Knoxville Nationals, flying back and forth from Cup race to Knoxville, Iowa to run the Knoxville Nationals in a sprint car. Guess who flew him back and forth? Denny Hamlin. So
They don't have a problem with each other. It's you.
Language.
It's you. It's you people. I'll keep it. You people that blow stuff out of proportion for no reason when you sit behind a keyboard and all you want to do is type and think you're The Rock or the Big Show or Andre the Giant from the wrestling side of things. Oh, they can't mess with me. I'm behind a keyboard. I'd like to see you go through Tunnel 3 at Talladega Superspeedway, walk through the infield on a Saturday night and try to pull that same stunt and see if you come out unscathed the next morning. That's absolutely ridiculous. Twitter caused this problem with Denny Hamlin having to do what he was doing. When the driver that it was directed at was having fun poked at him, and he didn't seem offended by it. I mean, why was there any point in trying to blow it out of proportion when I saw quite a few people of the Asian background on Twitter and on social media that thought it was kind of funny? It's from a cartoon, people. It wasn't like he just dropped a derogatory bomb stereotyping people and it caused an uproar. I get it. But Kyle Larson paid his dues from that. Kyle Larson did his time from that. Kyle Larson redeemed himself from that. You're trying to put Denny Hamlin in the same aspect of that? Give me a break, people. Give me a break. Simply put. There ain't no other way to say it. But carrying on from Talladega, only one penalty from Talladega, as one might suspect, it hits Live Fast Motorsports. Crew Chief Lee Leslie and the tire changer and Jackman have been suspended for 4 races each due to the 78 car driven by B.J. McLeod last weekend losing a wheel. All-Star Weekend in Texas for the second year in a row has another new format. Leave stuff alone. Before I even go into the details, leave stuff alone. Leave it alone. This year, the qualifying will be in its traditional single-car, one-lap format in reverse order of the owner points. The fastest 8 then go into a 3-round head-to-head elimination format. That elimination bracket puts 2 cars on pit road in adjacent pit stalls towards the end of pit road, and at the sound of the pit crews will perform, and at a sound, excuse me, I think at the sound of what? Yeah.
Yeah, a sounder of some sort.
Pit will perform a 4-tire pit stop. The drivers will, at the drop of the jack, take off with no pit road speed limit and go around, and the first car to the first. Is this American Ninja Warrior now? Or something?
I know, yeah. I mean, I get where they're trying to go. They're trying to bring everybody in on it. They're not trying to just make it about the drivers. They're trying to bring the pit crews in on it. But remember when we used to have just a separate pit crew challenge that happened away from the track?
At Rockingham, that's called the Unical 76 World Pit Crew Championship.
Yeah. You know, it's kind of weird the way that they've got it all going there, but yeah, that's the way that they're doing it.
Hope you liked the soapbox moment.
Yeah, I did. But yeah, the first car to leave pit road, again, no speed limit, get all the way around the track, hit the start-finish line first, advances to the next round. The final pair actually ends up competing for the pole. How confusing and how complicated can we possibly make this? Hey, welcome to NASCAR.
I woke up with a headache this morning. It's now worse.
Sure. And then we get into the All-Star race itself. Yeah, but wait, there's more. All-Star race will be done in 4 stages. Not much of a surprise there. What's pretty much what we've seen over the last couple of years. First 3 stages, each 25 laps long. Stage 1 winner starts on the pole in the final stage. With a caveat. As long as he finishes 15th or better in stages 2 and 3. What happens if he doesn't finish inside the top 15 in either stage 2 or 3? They didn't say.
He goes to that finishing spot that he finishes.
I guess. Stage 2 winner will, as long as he finishes 15th or better in stages 1 and 3, start the final stage in second place. Third stage winner starts third with the same caveat, right? After stage 2, there's more pit stop competition that's being included in this. This is where all teams must perform a full 4-tire pit stop. The team with the shortest time on pit road from pit in, including the stop and to pit out, will have their driver, assuming it isn't one of the stage break winners, start the final stage in 4th place. I can't wait.
Look,
I honestly can't wait for Mike Joy and Clint Boyer to start digging into this and try to explain it to the people.
as of what, April of 2021, we're now going on over 365 straight days. What has been mine, yours, and Matt Coulter saying that we've lived and died by?
Stop fixing what ain't broken.
Thank you.
4th stage, final stage, 50-lap stage. NASCAR stating that that should, here again, we're overcomplicating things. NASCAR states that should a natural, define that how you will, caution take place between laps 15 and 25, then the race will go on as normal. But if there's no caution flag between laps 15 and 25, expect them to throw a competition caution yellow on or about lap 25. The winner of the 4th stage, ultimately the winner of the All-Star race, and nets a cool $1 million.
Good job.
At least that didn't change.
No.
Currently, there are 19 drivers automatically entered into the All-Star race. This is based on 3 criteria. You earned a win in either 2021 or so far into the 2022 season. Or you are a previous All-Star race winner competing full-time this season. Or you're a previous Cup champion competing full-time this season. So again, 19 drivers automatically eligible. They're in the All-Star. For those who don't meet any of those 3 criteria, there is, of course, the NASCAR Open. This is a 50-lap event in 3 stages, 20 laps, and then a 10-lap shootout. Each segment winner, and, of course, the winner of the 10-lap shootout, gets to go on to the All-Star race, as does the winner of the fan vote. Now, this caveat we know. Mm-hmm. Should the winner of the fan vote have won one of those 3 stages, they go to the next person with the next most votes. If they're also a stage winner, you go down to the next person and so on until you get 4 separate people advancing from the Open into the All-Star race.
Quick little side note here. I looked at the time wrong on the Monaco E-Prix. They are green in round 6 right now.
Oh, well, there you go.
I looked at it wrong.
All right, we'll keep an eye on it. By the way, there is that fan vote as well. Fan vote is open now. Go to NASCAR.com. I think it's NASCAR.com/vote, whatever. Go find on NASCAR.com wherever it is to vote for the fan favorites.
So we know of one controversy that we know won't happen this year because Wallace is already in the race.
That's true. 1 entry per email per day. 1 email per entry per day is allowed in this particular situation.
I could, if he doesn't go to victory lane before then, I could see Daniel Suarez winning it this year.
You want to talk about a guy who has actually really kind of endeared himself to the fans? I like where you're going with that.
I could see Daniel Suarez winning it this year if he doesn't advance in through the 3 stages.
I like where you're going with that. Let's take a break. When we come back, we'll switch our attention to NASCAR's secondary series, what is also known as the Xfinity Series. We also got some Camping World Truck Series news and a whole lot more. Stick around. We're really still just started. It's heated up quite a bit. Soapbox 1 already underway. Hey, I bet you we get another one later on. Stay close. You're listening to CRN.
Stay right here for more on the Championship Racing Network.
Don't miss the...
racing action on the Championship Racing Network.
Hey, welcome back in. Switching our attention from the Cup Series over to the Xfinity Series. And we start off with A.J. Omendinger. We noted in the race recap that he finished third at Talladega, which makes him
We paid
the
how much
top
for those
finisher
lessons?
amongst the Dash for Cash quartet coming into that race. So Omendinger claims the $100,000 bonus. Can't think of a guy who's any more worthy than that. I mean, congratulations to him.
No doubt.
Today at Dover, this will be the final race in this year's series of 4 races in the Dash for Cash. The drivers who are running for the cash bonus, Omendinger again, Noah Gragson, who won at Talladega, Landon Castle, and Ryan Sieg. I don't know, looking squarely at Noah Gragson, man. Although I would love to see Landon Castle clean.
I was about to say, do not sleep on the 10 car.
I'd love to see it, but I'm looking squarely at Noah Gragson. Then there's Jeffrey Earnhardt. We talked about him. He got the start of his dreams when he got behind the wheel of a Richard Childress Racing number 3 Chevy Camaro last weekend at Talladega. Thing is, that was a one-off ride, at least for now. He's also signed to Sam Hunt Racing, or the other SHR, as we call him here on the show. The team announced the 7 races they plan to run him in. He's run 3 of those already. Well, Daytona Auto Club in Atlanta. Later on in the month of May, he will be getting back behind the wheel of that SHR entry at Texas. He'll also be in it at Charlotte the very next weekend. Then Nashville in June, and then he waits all the way until September at Bristol. So it's not like Richard Childress Racing doesn't have the opportunity to find some more races to put Jeffrey Earnhardt in at number 3. Just saying.
There's 2 more for the first time this year. No, second time in a row now. Because last year was the first time they'd done it for 4 super speedway races in a year. There's 2 more left, kids. I'm pretty sure Richard Childress will dust that 3-ball off when Daytona rolls back up in August. And
when Talladega comes back around next October.
Because those forever alone people, he's got a pretty good relationship with them now.
And you got to believe that they were thrilled to death with what they saw at Talladega. No doubt about it.
Yeah.
And then Sam Hunt Racing also got some additional help in the form of a sponsor, Stillhouse Spirits. They're going to sponsor one of their other drivers, who is a full-time Camping World Truck Series driver. We're talking about John Hunter Nemechek. Stillhouse Spirits will be on that car for 3 upcoming races. You can see that car on our CRN Live YouTube feed. That one, I do believe, is courtesy of jski.com. They're going to be running that paint scheme at Darlington, Road America, and Michigan. Pretty sharp-looking car, too. Number 26.
Uh-huh.
Then you get to Junior Motorsports. They're actually set to field a 5th entry in 5 races this year. Those races are going to be driven by Hendrick Motorsports drivers. Yeah, there's a bigger connection to Hendrick and Junior Motorsports than what you even might have thought beforehand. This number 88 will come out of mothballs for Chase Elliott to drive it next weekend at Darlington. Then later on in the month of May, William Byron will get behind the wheel at Texas. He'll also get behind the wheel at New Hampshire in July. Then Kyle Larson gets 2 turns in that car also. August in Watkins Glen, and then when they return to Darlington to kick off the playoffs in September. Here's connection number 1. HendrickCars.com sponsors that ride all 5 times. Cements the partnership that Rick Hendrick and Dale Earnhardt Jr. have had. It began back when Jr. drove for Hendrick the final 10 seasons of his Cup career.
Huh?
It's carried over in his post-full-time racing career. Hendrick, might not have known this, is actually a minority owner of Junior Motorsports.
Yeah,
and, of course, the 2 own 4 car dealerships down in Tallahassee, Florida.
That basically surround the perimeter of Florida State University. I've been by all 4 of them.
Yeah, essentially, yes, they do. So
I've always known about the minority ownership in Junior Motorsports.
yeah, I'm looking at these 5 races, and I'm like, let me think. Kyle Busch, we used to pencil him in for every time. Anytime I'm seeing that number 88 entered in there, I'm kind of penciling that in as your winner.
Yeah.
Good night, almighty.
Yeah.
Then we turn our attention over to Alpha Prime Racing. Haven't heard much from them this year, but they have announced Stephen Parsons is going to be in their car for most of the rest of 2022. Parsons joins next month at Texas Motor Speedway. He's going to have a company called SoCal, S-O-K-A-L Digital, is his sponsor for the majority of the races on that number 99. Further sponsorship to be announced. Parsons is all of 23, hails from Cornelius, North Carolina. He's got 33 Xfinity Series starts to his credit. And if the last name Parsons seems like it should be familiar to you, you're right. It should. He's the son of former Cup Series driver and one race winner, Phil Parsons. He's the nephew of a guy, let's just say if you are into NASCAR in any of its history at all, you've heard the name Benny Parsons.
Good old BP.
Yep, NASCAR Hall of Famer. And there's yet another connection. As it turns out, his brother-in-law is his now fellow Xfinity Series driver, Sheldon Creed.
Oof.
Yeah, no pressure. Good luck, Stephen.
I thought it was funny when they wrecked each other at Auto Club.
Yeah. Thanksgiving will be fun, huh?
Yeah, Christmas too.
Yeah. Hey, I'd like to give you a car. It's been slightly wrecked. MBM Motorsports also set to enter another car, as they say, for multiple upcoming races. They're going to break out a number 13 Toyota Supra for drivers Chad Fincham and Timmy Hill. Fincham actually gets the car today in Dover. Hill will get it at Darlington, Texas, and Charlotte. And oh, by the way, another driver is going to get a chance to be behind the wheel at Nashville. Unfortunately, it is not our own Matt Nicholson. It is Natalie Decker. Not sure who would have done better. Oh, wait. Yeah, I do. I'm sorry.
Well, they got the owner points from the 28 car of Sieg. So they're actually running the duration here now.
Yeah, these are just some of the breakdowns when it comes to the drivers.
Yeah. Yep.
And then you got Camping World Truck Series. A little bit of news here. Armani Williams is set to return to the Camping World Truck Series and do it with Rayom Brothers Racing when the series heads to Texas next month. It's notable because Williams will become the first driver openly diagnosed on the autism spectrum to compete in NASCAR's top levels. Williams is 22, hails from Michigan. He impressed last August with a 21st place finish at Worldwide Tech Raceway at Gateway, and that earned him his Speedway license in the process. His first race, again, Texas, later on in the month of May, going to be co-sponsored by Ice Cold Tech and by the Doug Flutie Foundation for Autism. He'll also get 2 more races this season. Later on, he'll race at Pocono and again at Phoenix. Very cool story.
Cool story indeed. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about that. You know, with his challenges that he faces with the autism spectrum and his diagnosis with that. Good for him. Break those barriers. Go for it. But please, for the love of humanity and mankind, give yourself a shot in a truck that won't be 6 laps down by lap 3.
Yeah, unfortunately.
And a team that has a hauler driver that knows how to go through the correct tunnel and not rip the top of the hauler off.
Yeah.
Yes, I'm throwing big time shade at that one.
And deservedly so.
They did get a new trailer, by the way,
Oh, congratulations.
from a road course racing team that they have not stripped the decals off of yet.
Yeah, we talked
saw
about
that.
that last week.
Yeah, I saw that.
And then as the Camping World Truck Series heads to Iowa's famed Knoxville Raceway on June 18th, that dirt race has a title sponsor now. It'll be known as the Clean Harbors 150. This year's the second year, actually, for the Truck Series to run at Knoxville, the famed dirt track in the plains section of the U.S. Clean Harbors actually has a subsidiary. It should be very familiar to NASCAR fans, as they've been a longtime NASCAR partner. Safety Clean. We're familiar with them, certainly.
Yeah, I've done quite a few reads for them.
And as we noted, with us being off for the most part last week, we did that hybrid CRN show with Matt and Grady Sepp. We didn't get to cover, really, the North Wilkesboro Speedway plans in a whole lot of detail. We mentioned it on the show a couple of weeks ago. Details here. Shortly after we got off the air, Speedway Motorsports Incorporated, the owner of the classic track in western North Carolina, unveiled their plans to renovate the track and bring some racing back. No, it's not going to be NASCAR racing, at least not yet. The track's facilities are set to get a multi-million-dollar overhaul. Exactly how much the bill will be, we haven't really been told. What we do know is this. They're repaving the track, totally. But before the new asphalt goes down, they're actually going to take the old surface in its rough shape as it is, neglected over the course of, the last effectively quarter century?
Yeah, says 96.
And they're going to take some local guys, Hornets, Street Stock, Super, and Pro Late models, some other smaller series. They're going to run on that old surface for about a month. And then they're not just going to, shave it down. No. They're actually going to pull up all of the old asphalt all the way around the course, all the way down to dirt. And then they're going to go racing on that with Hornets, Super Late models, Street Socks, 602, 604 late models, some modified, some 410 sprints, and other different series. That'll happen for about a month. Okay?
The 410 sprints will fly
You know it.
around there.
You know it. After they've done the racing on the old asphalt, pulled it up, done the racing on the dirt, then they're going to start modernizing North Wilkesboro once again. A modern paved racing surface. Now, what do I mean by that? It's very simple. Think about all the work that they did just last year to Atlanta Motor Speedway. Now, we told you about this. They were reconfiguring the track as well. Yes, it was still that kind of quad oval look, but they were upping the banking to 28 degrees in the corners 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. And they actually made it to the point where you and I actually saw this. After some rains, the old surface, it kind of held onto the water, and it would kind of show up through weepers. You'd see the water kind of coming back through the dirt, through the asphalt, out onto the track, and they'd have to stop the race effectively to dry it off. Well, now they've got a brand new drainage system under all that new pavement. Did the same thing out at Talladega when they repaved it back in 2007. Did the same thing at Daytona when they did that repave. Expect it to be the same situation when they redo North Wilkesboro. They're going to have a modern day drainage system built in to this new modern paved surface to help shed rainwater, prevent weepers. Plans are to come back to the national scene. In what way? Not 100% sure yet. SMI President Marcus Smith doesn't think that even when it is fully renovated, all the projects are done, he doesn't think that the new infrastructure is going to be enough to bring back the Cup, or even, he added, the Xfinity Series. He did say he thought that the Camping World Truck Series would be the most likely option, but he doesn't see that happening anytime before 2024.
Stranger things have happened. You're forgetting Marcus. No, I don't think he has forgotten, but there's an extremely loud voice that is behind this whole project that I think can get it into really, really quick gear. And in case you haven't heard of the guy, it is some Earnhardt guy. Oh, yeah, Dale Jr.
That's right.
He's big time behind that.
He's the one that got North Wilkesboro onto iRacing, which was no small feat. And he was the one that prompted, effectively, the cleanup of the facility as it sits now.
That they've made substantial gains on.
Oh, yeah.
Now,
I think you even mentioned basically the entire infield is raised. Was that you? Or
yeah,
was that someone else?
the entire infield's been cleaned up.
Yeah.
All that structure and stuff is gone.
Right.
The one question mark I have is about the scoring tower that still stands in the middle infield. If they're gonna try to refurbish it,
Try and renovate
whatever,
that thing?
or whatnot. I see Marcus's point from the infrastructure and logistical side of it, because I have been on the grounds of North Wilkesboro.
Mm-hmm.
You would only have room to put one series in the infield.
True.
There's really not, because there's some residential areas that are still around the perimeter of the track that are in close proximity, might I add. You couldn't really sit anybody outside.
No. And then have them
Maybe.
drive in, kind of like they did at the LA Coliseum, have them drive in.
Maybe ARCA. Because of the field size fluctuates so much.
Depending on the field size.
Yeah,
That's
right.
the thing. How many would enter?
Exactly. Now, if you have an entry list of, say, like Talladega, 35, that's the
Might be a
question
little
mark.
much.
Now, if you've got an ARCA East style, say
Say.
in the 15 to 20 range,
I was about to say that about that number.
you can make that work
Sure.
from the
Okay.
outside point of it.
Yeah. And again, a lot of work needs to be done. Inside, mention the infield, got to work on the track, got to work on the stands, because the stands were in very poor shape last time I saw.
It's not going to take much.
Okay. Press box needs to be worked on.
Yeah.
And then, of course, state of North Carolina has already said that they want to work on the infrastructure going into the track and, getting the utilities set up. They've pledged a lot of money to Charlotte Motor Speedway, North Wilkesboro, Rockingham, and a lot of other tracks that have run NASCAR all the way back to 96?
Yes, 96.
So they pledged a lot of money to redo these infrastructure things, but that's on the outside. Everything on the inside, that's all SMI. We don't know what their budget is. Whatever it's going to be, in my mind, it ain't enough. because North Wilkesboro, this is a long overdue track that needs to be back on the schedule.
It's
Needs
really,
to be back.
From a grandstand point of things, the front stretch going into the middle of turn 1, not 1 and 2, but in the middle of 1. That's your old the old steel back chairs that you used to see on the lower level at Talladega.
Sure.
Now, from the perimeter of middle of 1 and 2 around halfway down the backstretch, that's the old stadium style seating.
Bleacher seats.
Bleacher seats.
Yeah.
That's not in bad shape.
Okay.
It's really for that perimeter around.
Okay.
Now, if they get that, get scoring tires going, a whole 9 yards,
Get the press box up
they
to standard.
don't like much.
No. That's a good thing.
Yeah,
That's a good thing.
no doubt.
And I'm here to tell you, they bring one of these top 3. I don't care which one it is, be it Cup, be it Xfinity, be it Trucks. They bring one of these top 3 NASCAR series there. That's going to be a hard to get ticket. Real hard to get ticket. For critics of NASCAR, yeah, there's plenty of fodder out there. But if you think NASCAR is dying, I'm about to throw some facts at you that are going to counter your argument. Stay close. We got to take a break. When we come back, Hour 1 will be finished. Hour 2 will get underway. And, yeah, NASCAR ain't dead yet, even if you wanted it to be. You're listening to CRN.
Stay right here for more on the Championship Racing Network. 4 tires and 2 cans of fuel, and we're back to more racing action on the Championship Racing Network.
Yeah, full pit stop here as we get into hour number 2, but we're still talking a little bit of NASCAR. Because here over the last few years, and I'll be real honest with you, there's a meme that's going around social media that I absolutely hate.
I wonder which one.
You can probably guess it. But it's a picture of Dale Earnhardt that said, NASCAR died the day Dale Earnhardt died. No. What you deemed NASCAR died that day. NASCAR itself didn't die. Okay? NASCAR didn't die the day that Richard Petty retired. Okay? It kept going. NASCAR kept going. Whether you liked it or not, it did. The racing has changed? Sure. Be critical all you want. Thing about it is, if you're one of those people who thinks that it's dying, let me give you some numbers. 9 races into the season, Cup-wise anyway. They've all aired on the Fox network. All of them have been on the main network. This weekend, Dover, first Cup Series race not to air on the Fox network. It'll be on Fox Sports 1. Fox is reporting a 14% viewership increase over 2021 at this time. It's their biggest increase year over year since 2004 to 2005. Now, neither SMI nor NASCAR, the 2 major track owners within the NASCAR series, Cup Series, report actual attendance figures, but overall, both of them are reporting about a 20% jump from this time last year in overall attendance. Talladega reports last weekend's crowd was their biggest since 2017.
I believe it.
Bristol is saying that the dirt race attendance was the highest attendance for a Bristol spring race since 2017. Martinsville's claiming their biggest attendance for a spring race since 2016. Atlanta says that the spring race there earlier this year got the largest attendance at Atlanta for any spring race since 2014. Phoenix was sold out in the spring for the first time in over a decade. Daytona 500 was a sellout. That's not unusual. But Daytona was able to announce that 6 days before the race, and that is the earliest that Daytona's been able to announce that they were sold out in several years, they said.
Yeah.
We here on this show, we've been as critical as anybody about the Busch Clash being held at a football stadium, the LA Coliseum in Los Angeles specifically.
Mm-hmm.
We were and still are, quite frankly, amongst the critics of it. I'm thinking there could have been better things. But there is some good news out of this. NASCAR reports this, and we talked about it at the time. Some 70% of the people that bought tickets and showed up for that event, the Busch Light Clash, reported never having had been to any NASCAR event prior to attending that race. That does say something.
That's not a bad thing at all.
And then there's this. There are groups out there that do all of this kind of trending thing. You hear trending on social media, trending on search engines, whatever. There's a group out there called Morning Consult. And they've looked at what Gen Z, we're talking about those people born between 1997 and 2012, what they are most interested in. They've polled them, found out what they're most interested in. What is it that they're searching about? What is it that they're trying to see as far as fastest growing brands? NASCAR is the 9th fastest growing brand in the United States amongst the Gen Z crowd, alongside names like TikTok, Twitch, and Zoom.
That's actually where they're classifying what would be 10-year-olds in that thing. But hey,
there you go.
I mean, a lot of that I can believe because I'm telling you, you could not move in big bills last weekend.
Mm-mm.
You could not move in it.
Nope, not at all.
And I would say that's actually a bad thing, a good thing to have.
Oh yeah, 100%.
That was probably, if I had to guess, probably
Oh geez,
4,000 to 5,000 in there,
I would say so.
at least.
And the thing about that is that that'll breed word of mouth. That word gets out. Those people that were in there, they talk about their experience to the other people, make them want to go.
Yeah.
That's the way it goes. Switching our attention to the straight line racers over in the National Hot Rod Association. Before she claimed the final win ever at the Pro Stock Car Division in Houston Raceway Park, again, closing down soon because a highway is going through. Erica Enders made the most of it. She was actually not only winner of that event, she threw out a first pitch at a Houston Astros Major League Baseball game. From just in front of the pitcher's mound, she lofted a pitch that was, well, in what we would call baseball terms, a watermelon. but it ended up a couple of feet short of home plate. But being a Houston native, she still got big applause. So congratulations to her on that and the win. Whenever you can do something like that in front of your hometown crowd, it's a pretty cool thing.
No doubt.
Next weekend, when the NHRA visits ZMAX Dragway in Charlotte, get into some four-wide racing for the second time this year. They've already done it in Las Vegas. This will mark, though, the very first time that the very young Constant Aviation Factory Stock Showdown gets the chance to join in the four-wide fun. They haven't done it yet. While NHRA pro racers have been racing four-wide for over a decade, only one driver entered at this time into the Factory Stock Showdown next week has any experience in actually doing it, and that's Aaron Stanfield. He also competes in the Pro Stock Car Division, the Camping World Drag Racing Series. He says he thinks that experience will give him an edge, but don't think so, man.
Thinking's one thing, actually doing it's another.
Yeah. It's not like these people are just going, okay, whatever. No, they're doing their homework on this. Some of the others in the class, drivers like Bill Skillman, who he didn't have to go very far to get some advice. He actually turned to his Pro Stock Racing son, Drew, for some tips. Drew, of course, has run before, and he's been in the Pro Stock Car Division there. Then you got Dave Davies. He said he's been studying film. All of a sudden, we're talking about like quarterbacks in college and pro football. He's been studying film. He wants to study the Christmas tree from the inside of the different types of racers. So he's getting helmet cams effectively, and he's watching how everyone else is doing it. He said he was one of the people that petitioned the NHRA to allow the Factory Stock Showdown to actually go four-wide racing, and mentioned he has actually talked to some other drivers who have experience doing four-wide racing, drivers like Leah Pruitt. It's going to be fun to watch this and see how they react because, I mean, I get it. Pretty much you can look at, if you're in either of the middle two lanes, you can look at one of two Christmas trees. You can look at the one on the left or look at the one on the right. But I guess, and this is a solid guess, that you got to make sure that once you figure out which Christmas tree you're looking at, you got to zero in on it. Because if you're bouncing back and forth, which could be, I don't know if it is, but just from the outside looking in, potentially something of a, I guess you could call it a minor distraction, possible sort of a deal, in that you might be tempted to go from the left one to the right one to see if one of the two of them might be going quicker than the other. It shouldn't.
Yeah, it shouldn't be, but
you've got to zero in on the one, because if you're, and I get it, I mean, the eye moves just like that, but so do these lights. When they start going down, man, they're quick. You can't have your attention distracted in any way.
Yeah. Like you was talking about with that helmet cam stuff, what would interest me is, from an NHRA standpoint, is if they're using their straight line and not using their eyes and using their peripherals, or if they're actually using eye motion to look and then snapping their eyes back when they release the brake and go.
I don't know.
That's one thing I'd be interested to see.
Yeah. In that way, I mean, we've seen all different kinds of in-car cameras in all different kinds of sports, really. In this case, it would almost be, in fact, it probably would be. If I'm the person that's studying film, I'll put you in the driver's seat as the person with experience, and I'm the guy looking at the film. As much help as it would be for me to have a helmet cam from Matt that shows me where he's looking, it would also be better if he had a dash cam that showed me your eyes.
Yeah.
Okay? Because, I mean, it's easy for me to say this, but my intention, I think, initially would be to not have my head move and look at the one on the left or look at the one on the right. It would be to keep my head straight, and knowing that I can see both Christmas trees in my peripheral vision, use that.
But
where are your eyes looking would probably be more instructive to me as a person who's never been there, as opposed to having the helmet cam and saying, is he turning his head or not?
Now, here's going to be the kicker to that. You use that dash cam looking at my eyes from this way, you got to ensure, because every driver's different.
Sure.
You've got to ensure that I'm using a clear shield.
Well,
because if I'm using a smoke or amber shield,
can't see the eyes.
Your dash cam point is a mute point.
Yeah. Oh, I agree. But yeah, I guess the better way to say it is, It would be better if you had not only a helmet cam, but a dash cam, so I could run those two side by side, sync up the film, and see what it is that you were doing the entire time.
Bingo.
Through both cameras.
Bingo.
We'll see what happens. And then there's this surprise. Ron Capps pulled a Stewart-Haas Racing. Surprised the NHRA world by switching car makers mid-season. Hey, Stewart-Haas Racing did it in the off-season. No, Ron Capps is going to do it, and he's going to do it now. Capps began the season piloting Dodges, but on Thursday in Charlotte, Capps, who left Don Schumacher Racing to form his own Ron Capps Racing for this year, is leaving Dodge to move to Toyota to run Super GR funny cars beginning next weekend when the Camping World Drag Series runs at ZMAX Dragway. This move means Toyota now has 3 funny car entries. He will now be in a Toyota alongside J.R. Todd at Colita Motorsports and DC Motorsports driver Alexis DeJoria. There are 5 Top Fuel entries running Toyota power. All of their entries, Toyota's behind the 8 ball in this, behind Chevrolet and Ford and, well, Dodge. So Toyota trying to entice people to come over, give a whole lot of entries that run the Toyota brand significant help. Things like tow vehicles and trackside support come from Toyota, plus they get engineering and tech help.
Since we're on the
It's a bit of a shock move, though.
Yeah, since we're in the NHRA subject, possible CRN invasion coming in June
Okay.
to the NHRA.
Ah.
We talked about that this week.
Yes, we did. We have talked about that.
And hopefully at some point after that Bristol race, a friend of mine that just recently got a job on an NHRA team as a cylinder head specialist. When time allows him, hopefully can get him on and get into the insight and the life of how that works within that, I think it's a 75-minute time gap where you do a total tear down, total rebuild. See how that life works.
Yep.
And get a behind-the-scenes look at how an NHRA weekend goes.
Speaking of road trips, I'm going to start working on this.
Yes.
Turn our attention to the Superstar Race Experience, the Ray Evernham Tony Stewart series. Yeah, they're about to ready to visit for the 2nd year in a row Nashville Fairgrounds Speedway. And we're going to begin this transition to open wheel racing with a little bit of news about the SRX series, because one of the drivers that runs IndyCar is planning a one-off race in SRX. It's 2-time IndyCar champion Joseph Newgarden. Newgarden is a Tennessee native. He's cleared his schedule. He can run that race July 9th, again at Nashville Fairgrounds. He attended last season's race, but he was a spectator then, and admitted that after the event, he got to talking to Ray Evernham, told him he wanted badly to race one of his cars, added in an interview with Racer.com, quote, "Not had many opportunities to try other stuff," meaning anything other than an Indy car. "And I don't even know that I'll be able to drive this car before that weekend, so I probably won't be very well prepared, but I'm happy to do it."
Well, if I had an SLM I could put him in to give him a mock run, I'd let him drive it just to get his feet wet, because you don't want to choke it from your home crowd there, Joseph.
I get the funny feeling he won't be all that bad.
Hey, Murph will be on standby when you hear close.
Yeah, I'll be in contact with you. Let's go ahead and take a break. When we come back, we will turn our attention fully to the NTT Data IndyCar Series. You're listening to CRN.
We will be right back with more on the Championship Racing Network. and Coldwater Brewery. 2 tires only, and back out to the track for more action on the Championship Racing Network.
I've got a phone number for you, and I've got an email for you, and I advise you to utilize at least one, if not both. The phone number is 205-362-6419. The email is mike@oxfoundations.com. Where are we going with this? Well, Michael Hart is the person that we're talking about. And Ox Foundation Solutions are the people that can tell you if there's something wrong with the foundation of your home. If there is, you certainly want to get it taken care of. If there isn't, hey, great news. And this is where Michael comes in. You call 205-362-6419 or email him, mike@oxfoundations.com. You set up an appointment, have him come out. If you're anywhere in the state of Alabama, it doesn't matter where it is, north to south, east to west, he will come to your house at the time and the day that you guys specify, and he'll go over the house, and he'll check it out. And here's the cool thing. It's no cost to you for him to do this. There's no obligation on your part after he does so. I don't know what you're worried about. And on top of that, you get a written foundation assessment. Pretty cool stuff, right? So have him come out, have him go over the house, go through the house, go under it, go on top of it, do everything that he needs to do, and see if there's something wrong with the house. If there's nothing, you have it in writing, and you shake hands, you go your separate ways. That's it. All good. But if there is something wrong, he'll take the time, sit down, and explain it to you in detail. In that way, you can talk about the estimate that he's written up. And then you get to smile and you go, hey, you know what? Heard about it on the Championship Racing Network. Know about this promo code WEST, W-E-S-T? He now takes 15% off of that quote that he just gave you. Pretty cool stuff, huh? 205-362-6419, mike@oxfoundations.com. Go ahead and do it now. Again, no cost for him to come out, no obligation to you to get that written foundation assessment, and you get peace of mind either way because you know that there's nothing wrong or you know what's wrong and what you need to do to fix it. It's just that simple. Now, as we turn our attention to the NTT Data IndyCar Series.
Practice 2 is now green. I got time and a score. I'm watching right now.
Let's take a quick gander, by the way.
Yeah.
Formula E.
Yep.
We found out that their race was running.
Yeah, it was.
Last
running,
hour. It ended just before the top of the hour. We wanted to give it time to go official here. Let's give you a quick rundown of what happened in Monaco. What I did notice is that, and congratulations to Formula E for doing this, they ran the full racetrack as Formula One will run it coming up later on in the month of May.
Yeah.
So good job on that. How did it wrap up?
You've got, let's see here, let me get it loaded up.
I was hoping he had time to load it up while I was saying all that.
Yeah, it was up, and I actually closed the doggone screen out right before you started saying that.
Operator error.
That's right. Race 2, you got your podium finishers, Mitch Evans, Jean-Eric Verne, and Robin Frines.
Wow, Stoffel Van Dorn, who was leading with 5 minutes and 1 lap to go,
Apparently he had a penalty.
I hate it when that happens.
Rounding out the top 10, Andre Laurer, Stoffel Van Dorn, Pascal Wehrlein, Oliver Turvey, Lucas DeGrassi, Sebastian Buemi, and Dan Ticktum.
Dan Ticktum. Well, congratulations. So there you go. Running at Monaco this morning.
Andretti didn't fare too well. Eduardo Matara fell out for the Fighting Susie Wolves.
Mm-hmm.
And that's it. There's really no major names outside the top 10.
Okay. And then that'll bring us to the IndyCar Series. We have that all-female run team. Beretta Motorsports make a huge step towards becoming much more involved in the NTT Data IndyCar Series. This is a team that had only run Indy 500s up to this point in time, but they announced a couple of weeks ago, and we mentioned it here on the show, that they actually were not going to participate in this year's running of the Indy 500, but instead we're going to be looking to expand out their scope beyond that. They wanted to run multiple races later on in this season, and the team has officially announced in the couple of weeks since we last chatted about this that they are going to put their number 16. It's a Chevrolet-powered entry. The driver will be Simona Di Silvestro. All that stuff is stuff that we're used to from them running the Indy 500. They're going to enter the races at Road America, Mid-Ohio, and they're going to run the Music City Grand Prix as well. Got a technical alliance with Ed Carpenter Racing. That's a good technical alliance there. And they've got sponsorship coming from a company called Kiwi Co. The races also, this is convenient, fit into Di Silvestro's schedule. She is a reserve driver in the aforementioned Formula E series for the Porsche racing team. So she actually can be at these races without having to worry about being called by Porsche to be in attendance just in case she's needed at a Formula E event upcoming.
And IndyCar practice is red right now because Alexander Rossi decided to crash.
After being one of the 4 fastest yesterday, he cracked up the car. Why are you doing that?
Don't know.
Don't do it again. As for the Indy 500, we've been talking about this little saga. First of all, speaking of don't fix things that aren't broken.
Thank you.
Here comes the Indianapolis people.
Motor Speedway.
Yeah. IndyCar Series officials have decided that they're going to change the qualifying format for the Indy 500. I don't know why, but they're going to do it.
Me neither.
The Fast 9 is gone. It's replaced by a Fast 12 and then a Fast 6. Yeah. For those who weren't paying attention over the past few years, we have seen qualifying coming in 2 stages. It, first of all, sets the field from what had been positions 10 through position 30. Then they separated out the fastest 9, and those 9 battled it out amongst themselves to claim the actual pole for the race. This year, we will separate out the fastest 12. 13 through 30 will be set on qualifying day, and then we'll go again with the fastest 12. First to determine starting positions 7 through 12. The fastest 6 will then go out and do it a 3rd time to figure out who makes up the first 2 rows and in what order. And then, of course, we go back to this situation where entries 31, 32, and 33 and anybody else after that will battle it out on bump day to see who makes the 33-car field. It appears bump day, by the way, won't happen this season, but yeah. If we can make something cool, we can just turn around and make it that much more complicated for you. And that's what the IndyCar Series has just done.
Is it just to fill out the day or something? Explain this to me, please. Anyone?
Think it's probably to give the people that buy tickets to go check out qualifying a little bit more on-track experience, truth be told. And I understand that to a certain extent, but good grief. When you were as relatively simple as the Fast 9 was, why are you going to go out and just out-and-out complicate it?
Thank you, Pastor West.
That's my soapbox.
Marky got his pulpit out today.
Yeah. That being said, something else changes during the lead lap up to the Indy 500. It's a new Firestone Tire. Oh, yeah. Fans who know the series know that the series has 3 different tires. They have a wet tire. Yes, they can run in the rain, which they may have to tomorrow. They have a black sidewall tire, and they have an alternate red sidewall tire. The reds are a little bit of softer compound, so therefore you can run a little bit faster, but of course they wear out a little bit quicker than the black sidewall tires, right? Current IndyCar rules state that both compounds must be used at least once during the race, obviously, unless it's raining. Well, here comes the 4th compound. On Carb Day, Indy's Pit Stop Challenge will see this new green sidewall tire, if that tells you where we're going on this. Firestone is debuting this alternate compound using a natural rubber from something called a guayule shrub. Reportedly, it requires less reharvesting than most other rubber types.
Yeah, whatever you said.
Yeah. It's a tire that then will get actual first use in race trim at the Music City Grand Prix in Nashville. It will actually take the place of the red sidewall tire there. So in other words, you won't get a red sidewall, you'll get a green sidewall and a black sidewall. And you got to use them both. It's all in the effort to be more environmentally conscious.
Yee.
Okay, congratulations. And then there's the saga of the elusive 33rd entry. Again, mentioned it just a moment ago, it appears bump day's not going to happen because in order to have a bump day, you need to have at least 34 entries, right? We've been trying to figure out whether we were going to get 33 this year. Racer.com reports that it might finally be a done deal. Now, Juncos Hollinger had pulled out of the running of the famed race, but it appears now that we've got Cusick Motorsports, a team that you probably have never heard of. Don't worry, we really haven't heard much about them here on this show either. No. Partnering with a company called Dragon Speed. We've talked about them. They've thought about getting into IndyCar on a full-time basis but they kind of keep hedging their bets, so they keep just kind of dipping their toe into the water. It looks like these two companies are going to field a car together for driver Stephen Wilson with a Chevrolet engine powering it. Thing about this is, while Racer.com is reporting it, neither team has commented nor confirmed it. So despite Racer.com seeming confidence in their own report, we'll call it unconfirmed at this point in time. We'll just say that it appears that's on the table, but nobody's saying anything official just yet. Where have we heard that?
Don't know. Never heard of it.
Yeah.
Just kidding.
Jim. It's taken a long time, actually over a year and a half of hashing this out.
Old Jimmy.
It's California, after all. The only things that they do in California quickly are raise their own debt and raise their taxes on their people. But it does appear that the Monterey County Board of Supervisors has approved almost $10 million in funding for repairs that are needed to WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca. Work that has been identified as needing to be done includes paving the entire course. I like the course, actually. I've had the chance to race it in virtual terms. I like it a lot. It's fun. They also want to replace the bridge that goes right over the start-finish line, plus there's more. It all began with the approval of almost a $500,000 design work blueprint. The plan is now to open the bids for the work to begin within weeks. The plan then to unveil the work just in time for the 2023 racing season, which would include more than just IndyCar. IndyCar, of course, is slated to race on this course later on this year. It does appear that they're going to be racing on the old surface, and then they'll begin the repaving process to hopefully have it done in time for 2023. Be nice to see when they get that done.
Will be.
My question is, because we've talked about tracks here in the United States, courses, if you will, that could host Formula E but are just missing on the classification. Laguna Seca is one of those ones that's just missing on the classification. I'm wondering if they're trying to work into this particular situation the ability to step up to where they could host Formula E. And I hate to say it, but I don't think they're looking that far ahead. I would be. I don't think they are.
There's a little racetrack down I-20 that sets off exit 140. It's about that close to being a grade 1.
If George Barber felt, and I honestly believe this, if George Barber felt that financially it made sense for him to go and put in a bid for a Formula One race, he would not hesitate to upgrade the track to make sure that it made Class A status.
I do know.
Or Class 1. Is it Class 1 or Class A?
Grade 1.
Grade 1. Thank you. Grade 1 was close.
I do know. Because just because I'm good like that. I do know that there are plans and blueprints that are in existence to turn Barber into an F1 track that quick.
Again, for George, it has to make sense for him. And I get that. Business-wise, it makes sense for him to do the things that he's doing right now. Financially, it makes sense. I mean, think about it. We just said earlier on in this show, the events tomorrow for the IndyCar race and the Indy Lights race, and I think there's a...
F2000.
Is it F2000? Okay.
Yep.
So there are 3 races tomorrow leading up to the IndyCar race, including the IndyCar race, 3 races total. But all the activities tomorrow and all the activities on track today are sold out. And that's fantastic. I think it's great that we here in the state of Alabama have created, and George Barber has created, this kind of a destination location that people want to go see this. And if you've never been there, can't go this weekend, obviously, but make your plans, because you're missing out on an opportunity to see, number one, some great racing, and number two, at a wonderful venue. And it's right in our own backyard. But it's also attracting people from around the country and, like we talked about at Talladega,
Around the world.
Talladega attracted people from every single one of the 50 states this year, and they said, I think, just shy of 25 countries around the world. It would not surprise me at all that Barber is hosting every single bit of that, and maybe a little bit more, because IndyCar has a little bit more international appeal, being the open wheel series that it is, even though it may not be as well known overseas. So yeah, it wouldn't surprise me at all if they're every bit of the 50 states in about 20 to 25 countries.
And I'm pretty sure you wouldn't have to worry about $1,000 tickets at an F1 race at Barber.
Probably not. But that being said, again, it's got to make financial sense. Hosting an IndyCar race is a different fee structure than hosting an F1 race.
True. Very, very true.
But I like I said before, if George Barber crunched the numbers and it made financial sense to him, he'd do it in a heartbeat.
And it would not take him long at all to build a paddock, to build a whole.
Oh, I agree. Speaking of that whole IndyCar F1 thing, Andretti Autosport driver, who we just mentioned is crashing, Alexander Rossi, said he's excited to see the Formula One race that's coming next weekend to Miami. He obviously has an interesting vantage point. He's run Formula One before he came to IndyCar not quite a decade ago. Rossi said this about the race, quote, "I'm just excited for Formula One and America, honestly. It's been a long time coming to have multiple races in the States. It's a big country. There's no reason not to have 3. Obviously, starting next year, in theory, we're going to have 3. That's an amazing thing," referring obviously to what we're familiar with, the Circuit of the Americas race, the Miami race, but Las Vegas is supposed to be added next year. But he has a warning as well. He says that his current series needs to figure out how to market themselves better because IndyCar now has a legitimate open-wheel competitor when it comes to trying to get the American race fan. And Rossi says he thinks Formula One's doing a better job of reaching out at this time than IndyCar is.
Right. That's big words.
It is. What did he say? He said with 3 races, I'm sorry, let me back up. So especially when you look at the U.S. market share with 3 races, talking about Formula One, it's something IndyCar needs to be aware of. We need to continue our development and plan in terms of what we're doing with our series, with the driver personalities, the teams, the representation we have out there. I think it's certainly a moving target. I think he's right in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
Okay? I mean, you think about the main thing that both NASCAR and IndyCar have both said that they're trying to get a handle on. That F1 has already done. That's that partnership with Netflix. Critics aside, you got to realize that whether they're manufacturing drama or they're taking drama as it really actually is and highlighting it, Formula One Drive to Survive on Netflix has done wonders for Formula One around the world, but especially here in the United States.
No doubt.
IndyCar has nothing like that. NASCAR has Days of Thunder, has Talladega Nights, and has this crazy, screwed up quasi-comedy, which I didn't find funny. I watched the first episode and said, no thanks, I'm out. Which I can't even remember the name of.
Yeah, that Kevin James deal.
It's horrible.
Yeah, it's not good.
That's what NASCAR has. IndyCar's got nothing. Except for, if you look around on your varying streaming services, you might find a documentary on a specific driver. Found one on Scott Dixon, which was actually quite good. But IndyCar's got nothing that promotes themselves like F1 Drive to Survive.
Yeah.
And they're all chasing that. Alexander Rossi's right in that way.
Yeah. No doubt.
But here's the thing. As opposed to the previous ownership group, the Holman George, Holman Moody, whatever you want to call them, specifically the Holman George. I know Holman Moody is an entirely different thing. The Holman George family, that would have gone in one ear and out the other. Roger Penske, owner of not only Team Penske, but Penske Entertainment, he gets it.
Which owns the IndyCar series.
That's true. He gets it, though.
Oh, yeah.
And I don't think Roger Penske is, first of all, going to let this go in one ear and out the other. Second of all, I actually don't think that he's going to be upset and come down on Alexander Rossi for him stating what he said. Because even though it is a massive red flag, what he just said could be considered as highly critical of his own series, he's not incorrect. And I think Roger Penske realizes that, and I think he has a desire and he has a need to take action on this. And we say that with these guys sitting, 40 miles to our west.
Yep.
And I hope that they're listening, because I really, really enjoy IndyCar racing. I love it.
I do too.
But I enjoyed it last year when I went up to Indianapolis and saw it on the road course on the NASCAR IndyCar doubleheader weekend.
I'll admit, I wasn't big on IndyCar for the longest time.
Mm-hmm.
But when I actually got to Barber for the first time and saw him live, it's like,
it's eye-opening.
What have I been waiting on?
Yeah, it's an eye-opening experience. There's no doubt about it. So IndyCar, you have a chance here. I think you've got a great opportunity. You've been growing in popularity over the last couple of years. But now, this next step, it's a much bigger step. Don't be afraid to take it.
Yep.
We got to take a break. When we come back, we'll be talking about some sad news from the IndyCar world and turn our attention to Formula One as we really get ready to wrap up. Yeah, unfortunately we do. Get ready to wrap up today's edition of CRN.
Don't touch that dial. The Championship Racing Network will be right back.
Then.
Zero.
Fuel only. Go, go, go. We're back to the Championship Racing Network.
Hey, welcome back in. Appreciate you checking us out. I'm Steve West with Matt Nicholson. Producer John Myers got, unfortunately, some sad news from the IndyCar world. The passing of driver Ted Krapas. You may not have heard of him, but he had a relatively short career. That would be the reason why. He actually only started one Indy 500 in his relatively short career. That was the 1992 event where he started 32nd and actually finished 16th. Car was owned by PIG Enterprises and Norm Turley, sponsored by PIG Enterprises. In the Say No to Drugs public service campaign, it was powered by a Chevy engine. Krapas made the race just under the time limit, claimed his starting spot on bump day, making his qualifying run with only 5 minutes left in the session, became the final qualifier for the race in his third try. Interesting to note that his successful run actually bumped Scott Goodyear from the field, former Indy 500 winner.
Oof.
Goodyear was actually tapped to take over the car that Mike Groff had qualified. Having to start at the rear of the field because of a driver change, Goodyear was able to climb through the field, claim second place on that same day. Anyway, Krapas got his start in racing with the help of Oscar-winning actor Jimmy Stewart. Yeah, you know, from It's a Wonderful Life fame. He bought the car that Krapas drove in the Super V Series in 1983. Stewart's later years saw him being managed by Prapas's mother, He moved up to the West Coast Atlantic Racing Series, winning the 1986 title before he went into the Indy Lights in 1988. Prapus had been with the PIG team in Indy Lights in 1990, finished second in the final standings, won 2 races that year. 1991, 1992 got into the kart series back when there was the kart IRL split. Claimed a best career finish of 6th at Long Beach 1991. He was second in Rookie of the Year standings 1991 to a guy you might have heard of, John Andretti.
Heard of him.
Yep. They attempted the 1991 Indy 500, but he didn't qualify, made the 1992 races we mentioned. Earlier this year, he was diagnosed with colon cancer. He passed away due to it on April the 22nd. He was 66 years old. 2 words. Cancer sucks.
No doubt.
All right. We mentioned he's been having problems this year. Let's talk about them as we transition to Formula One. He may be a 7-time champion, but Lewis Hamilton already believes he's out of the running for his 8th, at least in 2022. After finishing 14th at Imola and being lapped by the winner, Max Verstappen, in the process, he now sits 50 points behind championship leader Charles Leclerc. Now, again, we're only 3 races into the year. 50 points, yes, it's big, but it's not insurmountable if,
No.
here's the if,
Yeah, big if.
they could find the performance in that Mercedes. He notes that his team Mercedes is struggling to find speed, lagging well behind what they're doing over at Red Bull and Ferrari. Hamilton talked to Sky Sports this past week, said, quote, "We're obviously not fighting for this championship, but we're fighting to understand the car and improve and progress through the year. That's all we can hope for right now." Mercedes team principal Toto Wolff was not quite as pessimistic, but he did note the lack of speed, said, quote, "We are 4 races in. Today marks the low of the first 4 races. It's obvious that we're not anywhere near the front or near the fight at the front. It would be pretty unrealistic to claim that we have a slot amongst the front runners fighting for the championship." As you might imagine, there are a few people who are not as distressed over the troubles at Mercedes, one of them being Red Bull's Helmut Marko. Marko talked to Sky Sports himself and made a bit of a joke at the expense of the 7-time title winner, smiling a wry smile when he said of Hamilton, quote, "I mean, he was lapped by us. Maybe he should have stopped last year." He's thinking that. Maybe. I get the funny feeling Lewis Hamilton wasn't anywhere near as close to retirement as anybody might want to think. But that being said, Mercedes is one of the teams that has a notable problem with what is being called porpoising. It's a violent bouncing of these cars under the new regulation F1 cars that they're experiencing while going straight at high speeds. It was bad enough for Mercedes last Sunday at Imola that Hamilton's teammate, George Russell, who, remember, finished 4th, when it was all over and got out of the car, complained about having pains in his chest and his back because of the violent bouncing.
If you recognize something, they're the only team dealing with this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no other team's really complaining.
Nobody's
about
dealing with this.
No.
But them.
Don't know what it is.
Which leads me to ask the question, what are you doing in the suspension of that car to make it look like a dolphin jumping out of the water in the Gulf of Mexico, going in a straight line?
You got something massively wrong, and you need to get it fixed. And Wolff admits that they have things to work on. Again, that's Toto Wolff, team principal, said, quote, "We're not good enough for a world champion, not worthy for a world champion. We just need to fix the car. Lewis deserves better from us, but we're a team, so we all need to do the utmost in order to provide him with a machine that is able to fight for front positions. The guy's the best driver in the world. He's just not having the machine and the equipment underneath him to be able to execute." That being said, with the problems that Mercedes and a couple of other teams are having with the new for 2022 regulations, Aston Martin, things are going to change again for 2026. Remember, this is when the new power unit comes in. The current power units are going to be used through the 2025 season under the new rules, likely including a little bit more emphasis on the hybrid tech, something to keep enticing the Volkswagen Group, which keeps making a lot of noise regarding 2 of the brands under their umbrella, Audi and Porsche, and joining Formula One. But it's not just the power units that are changing. Again, it's an engine and a hybrid unit. That's why we keep just saying power unit. FIA's F1 Commission is targeting bigger changes. They want to significantly reduce the drag on the car. And they want to make the car smaller. We were talking about this over the last couple of weeks. How in Monaco, the cars have gotten so wide that passing has become something of a hard thing to do because Monaco's a relatively tight course.
Right.
And if you look at the cars today versus the cars, say, 20 years ago, you can tell that they're a much wider car. Mm-hmm. The F1 Commission wants to fix that. They want to go back a little bit smaller. significantly reduce drag, and make them lighter in weight. So if you think the relatively minor changes from 2021 to 2022 been hard to get a handle on, let's wait a couple of years and let's see how much things actually end up changing. Because, yikes. How many teams are going to punt on 2025 trying to get a handle on 2026? We saw Haas do it last year, and again, relatively minor changes from 2021 to 2022.
I know 3 teams that won't. Ferrari, Red Bull, and I don't know so much about Mercedes now.
Depends on whether Mercedes gets a handle on this car yet.
They got to get a hold of 2022 first.
Exactly. Another change that Formula One wants to make, and they want to make this even sooner, is expanding out this sprint race schedule. As it was at Imola, they held qualifying on Friday and then used those results to set a starting lineup for a sprint or a heat race, if you will. Well, Tuesday, during the F1 Commission meeting, the topic of adding more sprint races to the 2023 schedule was brought up again. Originally, the idea was to have 6 sprint races, including this, the ones this season, but cost cap concerns kind of limited it to 3 for this year. They're hoping to have their handle on the cost cap for next year, but the FIA, the F1 Commission, and all the teams, despite seeming aligned on upping that to 6 next season, has the FIA studying the cost of that number. So they haven't approved 6 next year yet. Reports are that the FIA's new president, Mohammed Ben Sulayem, is seeking more money from Formula One to pay for the operations cost.
Well,
good luck with that,
yeah.
Mohammed. Formula One officials have reported that in the 2 years of sprint races, they've seen increased interest and an increase in the number of people attending on Saturday, and a bigger television audience due to the inclusion of sprint races, along with more sponsorship of the events that include sprint races. But how much that's actually affected Formula One's bottom line is unclear. So now we get to figure out whether or not this is actually going to happen. Not holding my breath.
Neither am I.
And congratulations to the defending Formula One champion. Max Verstappen was named the Laureus World Sportsman of the Year. This is a worldwide sports thing, not just like the ESPY Awards, which is really only United States of America. Those awards were handed out last week, and winning the title, claimed 10 wins and 10 poles last year, finished on the podium a record 18 times. And Verstappen now becomes the latest in the line of a number of other Formula One champions named World Sportsman of the Year by the Laureus Foundation. Lewis Hamilton, Sebastian Vettel, Michael Schumacher among them. And then some Formula E news. You may not know of a British car maker by the name of TVR. If you play a game like Gran Turismo or something like that, you probably have, but here in the United States, we don't see them on the road that much. They're a British high-performance, low-volume car maker, but they seem, while not ready to commit to a team in Formula E, the brand has come to terms with Formula E on a title sponsorship. This weekend's race in Monaco was sponsored by TVR, and the upcoming London E-Prix doubleheader, the last weekend in July, is going to be title sponsored by TVR. Company chairman Les Edgar said, quote, "Our collaboration with ABB FIA Formula E," their full name, and on-site activations at the Monaco and London E-Prix not only demonstrate our commitment to revolutionizing the TVR brand, but to EV, electric vehicles. Our plans are to bring a TVR EV to the market, and they're well underway. And with the first of 2 models to be released shortly after the release of the newest Griffith, one of their heritage performance models, a limited edition Griffith EV model should be out sometime in 2024. I've seen some of their cars. They've got some fairly sharp-looking cars, and I hate to say it, they got a couple of fairly ugly ones, too. Be interesting to see whether this one comes out as good-looking or ugly. By the way, Formula E was supposed to be coming to Vancouver, Canada this year. It was going to mark the first Formula E race in the hat of the United States since racing in Canada back in Montreal back in 2017. However, the race, planned to be a centerpiece of a Canadian E-Fest, has been canceled, rescheduled to run 2023. Canadian news sources claim that the race wasn't granted the proper permits to be able to be held. Promoters OSS Group, which is the race and E-Fest promoters both, released a statement that said, quote, "After intensive review with the city of Vancouver, OSS Group has had to make the incredibly difficult decision to postpone Canadian E-Fest until 2023. City of Vancouver fully supports the postponement, not cancellation. Delivery of a world-class event is of the utmost importance to the organization. We'll be communicating with ticket holders via our ticket partner, APTI, to inform their options." You had tickets to this, sorry. Maybe they'll be good next year.
Oof.
I don't know. Should Formula E not replace this race with another one, that would leave a 6-week gap between the Jakarta E-Prix in June and the New York City doubleheader weekend coming in mid-July. Should the event not be replaced by another race, it also drops the number of events this year from 16 to 15. Season's still slated to end with a doubleheader weekend August 13th and 14th in Seoul, South Korea. Next season, however, could see the debut of not only Vancouver, assuming all plans and permits come to fruition. Thanks, Canada. But Cape Town, South Africa is slated to debut next year. And there have been preliminary plans to run a first-time ever race in India in their city of Hyderabad. But other than on the wish list, no details have been released. And then a couple of pictures for you here as they came to Monaco. FormulaE unveiled the new Gen 3 Formula E racer. Sharper angles along the sides without an actual side pod that you might imagine from an IndyCar Formula 1 racer. A little low to the ground front wing. No traditional rear wing as we might call it either. The new car has two separate powertrains, one driving the front wheels, the other the rear. It's twice the regenerative energy potential than this year's racer, they say. Top speed for the new car is expected to be at about 200 miles per hour. You'll be able to see it on our CRN Live YouTube feed, courtesy of FormulaE.com. And we'll try and show it to you again. I think we're going to do a short after the show here. So we'll show it to you again then. Hope you all have a great weekend. Enjoy the racing at IndyCar at Barber, NASCAR at Dover. We'll talk to you again about it all next week right here. Thank you for checking us out right here and listening to us here on the Championship Racing Network.
This has been a presentation of the Championship.